which complements with your job tracker to actually understand the whole process. Mappers preferentially placed on same node or same rack as their input. So which means this is what your core concept of HDFS itself is. So when you say, right, have said something called data node, right? Data node has some other component called task tracker. So the task tracker is the role is a component that is going to do this kind of tasks like mapping and reducing. So your mappers will be given from your job trackers, right? Your job tracker would be analyzing where the data is available in which data node, and based on that, your task itself will be issued so that you get the data locally available. So that is what the whole funder is. So which minimizes your network usage. So these are all some techniques that you can see, Rakesh. Like there are a number of ways to clearly understand the process and minimize your whole work overload or your network utilization, because the whole framework itself takes care of it. So more than us, the framework itself follows a disciplined structure of only making the best use of the data. When you can actually do it locally, why do you need to go ahead with the network and then copy the data, and then, which is going to add a lot of performance latency and delay, and then like lesser throughput. Yep. So basically, this is another like point you can make a note of. Mapper save the output to local disk before serving them to the reducer. So these local disk, right? So like this output of your mapper is what you call it as intermediate key value pairs. So these key value pairs would be written to the local disk of your mappers, and those mappers, those intermediate key value pairs would be collected before that during the shuffle and sort process. So then and there, once a mapper has been completed, that will be collected and kept. So that is what your whole fund does. So basically your mappers can be more than your reducer. Usually your reducer would be lesser than your mappers, because mappers does the process of serialized or it actually divides and compare, but reducer is going to do the heavy lifting process of getting all the data and then finalizing or aggregating the whole output that we desire. Okay. Questions? Anything?
Uh, Saruna, Harish.
Yeah, yeah, please go.
Yeah, I think probably this mappers preferentially placed on the same node.
Okay.
Probably I'm not able to visualize, how a task tracker and the mapper can be from the same node.
Okay.
Uh, so probably, I don't want to waste your time as well.
No,
So
no, no.
as we move
It's
along,
right, right. No, no. Get a clear picture, because that is more relevant here.
okay.
So when you say
So
task tracker, okay, let me explain that. When you say task tracker is a component of Hadoop cluster. Forget about it later after that. Okay.
okay,
Task tracker is a component of Hadoop cluster that will be used to do the heavy lifting process of processing your data. So that is what task tracker is. When you have name node that is going to manage the whole Hadoop cluster, and it is going to have several data nodes to store your HDFS data, but the name node is going to be the master, correct? Similarly, your job tracker is
yes,
going to be the master. The job tracker would be assigning several tasks to the task trackers, right?
okay,
So those task trackers is where your mapper or your reducer will be running.
yes. I got it. But in the slide before you were saying, right, that try to have the same. If you have a data and if a task tracker is there, try to
Okay.
have the mapper also on the same host or on the same node. How
Okay.
will they recognize? How it gets recognized? That means you can programmatically, assign the tasker to something like a node one, and also
No.
the
Yes, yes,
mapper
yes.
to
Let
go
me
to node
explain
two.
that. Okay, you just have 10 nodes. That's it. So we should not really say, okay, this task should be go to that. That is the whole purpose of we going for a Hadoop framework. So we can just forget about those complexities. Why you are going to learn this internal structure is this is more relevant for you to understand or think in terms of MapReduce, because this is not something that we do. Clearly understand that, because our role would be just to write these two logics. If we can clearly understand, anyone's role for writing a MapReduce program would be just to write these two logic. So the logic
Okay.
of a mapper and reducer. But end of the day, doing this because the other structure I'm saying, right, collecting the data or running several mappers or
Mhm.
shuffle and sort, everything would be primarily a focus of your framework. This is something I'm explaining. So this is not something that we are going to do. So we can totally forget up. You can literally forget about this fact. But when you say you are going to learn something on MapReduce, you will have to understand what is the flow that Hadoop framework itself takes you through. So end of the day, when you say if
Okay.
you want to write a MapReduce program, so you can just write the mapper logic and the reducer logic. That's it. As simple as that. So might not be as simple, but if you can write it only if you can understand this process.
Okay.
So you can just totally forget about the fact like, okay, this task, this tracker is available, this machine if it fails, what about my whole job? Those functionality or those fear we can just throw away, because the whole purpose of we going for Hadoop framework itself is to, the framework itself will take care of things. Our purpose is to just manage things, or our purpose is to analyze things or optimize things based on the framework. So these
Okay.
functionalities, right, everything would be taken by the framework. So that is what the beauty of Hadoop. The reason behind we going for Hadoop is not just scalability, not just performance oriented. Like it actually minimizes your whole process of doing distributed programming. Nothing needs to be programmed. So you just write the logic as if another program, a Java program, you just write your logic and execute, but the framework takes care in terms of moving that logic in a distributed way and scalable way.
Okay.
Right? So yeah, I can
Yeah.
clearly understand what's your picture is. So that's